Hi everyone, so Hiromi and Jamie is back with you, and today we're going to talk about immigration rights. So there's a four main things in our table of content. The first one is an introduction to our human rights. Second thing is the history of why this country is dealing with these violations. The third one is the war organization and leader who work and have to talk about this problem. And the last but not least, what has been done, being done, and should be done. So to introduce into our human rights lie in between Article 13 and Article 14 in the Universal Human Declarations. So the first one, Article 13, talks about everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residency within the border of each state. And Article 14 is everyone has the right to seek asylum from persecutions. So, according to the IOM UN Migration World Migration Report 2020, about 272 million people who migrates from all over the country, all over the world. And within that case, there's around 100, 50 million 700 cases migrate to United States. And within that United States migration number, there are about 11 million 800 Mexican who migrate into the country. So you might think that only Mexico are Mexican who is trying to come into the United States. However, the problem lie more than that. It actually lie in the Central America, where a lot of country who suffer and they come into Mexico and trying to cross the border between U.S. and Mexico. So the country in the Central America I'm talking about include Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. So let me show you guys this chart. So first of all, this chart is the 10 migration coordinate involving the Northern American country in 2019. And you can see that the number of people who migrates from Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador, which also lies in Central America, have quite a number in the chart. And you can see that at the corner, there is a number of total family migrations from Honduras. So now we're going to talk about why is this country suffering from these human rights violations. So first, when we want to know why, we have to talk about the problem backs at home from these Central American countries. So first of all, what problems they are dealing with? So the problem that mostly the country in the Central America is dealing with is civil war. And we can know that war always left us with so many consequences for the futures. And I will talk a little bit about why this country suffering from this civil war and what's the big impact of it. So with Guatemala, in 1951, the country elected a president who aimed to fight poverty by redistributing the property among the country. However, only 75% of the property was owned by 2% of the population. This, of course, caused some discontent among the country and as well as ruined the relationship between the country with the United States at the time. That's why the people in the country and the United States came up together and planned a military overthrow to their elected president, and which led into a civil war that happened in the country in 1960. So the war goes on for 36 years and ended it in 1996. But despite that, the economic, societal, and personal damage has been so severe that caused many Guatemalans to flee the country and go to the United States. And same for El Salvador. In 2018, they also faced a civil war between the government and the Marxist guerrillas. More than 750,000 Salvadoran were murdered and lead to the people of Salvador had to flee the country. And later in that year, some Salvador immigration and the LA gangs member were charged with criminal offense and got sent back to the country, where the problem become more severe because people start to get so more violent, and the country was basically covered with all the gangster activities. And to Honduras, the same with other two countries. They also suffer from the American War against communism. In 1983, the American soldier came to Honduras to help the country fight the war, and the Honduras soon became a militarized state, facing a lot of corruption, political repression, government violence. The US also pushed the deregulations of coffee trade in the country to benefit itself, which harmed a lot of poor farmers and sending so many migrants to the US for safety and economic purpose.
Alright, thank you, Hiromi. I'm gonna continue your part about the problems back in these Central American countries. So the second problem is corrupt government. So the government is corrupted, it is weak with unstable institutions and political uncertainty, make it challenging for the Central American governments to control the violence from the gangs. So as you can see in this picture from 2014, um, there were a lot of corruption found in these Central American countries like Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Venezuela, Panama, Costa Rica, El Salvador, yeah, and many more. Moving on to the second, another problem, which is poverty. So the government has some issue with jobs opportunities, so therefore they lack of jobs, and the jobs usually comes with low wage or not much money. And according to a video from Vice News, this woman, her name is Olga Guerra. She's a Honduran woman who attempts to cross the border many times. And she told a reporter that she only makes about $10 per day, and half of it can be gone sometimes when she walked outside and ran to one of the gangsters, and she had to leave the country, leave her daughter, and just cross the border. But many of the attempts, it didn't pay off, or this it didn't work. So she got sent back to Honduras many times. So the next problem is the gangster activities. So there are two well-known gangs, which are the MS-13, the 18th Street Gang, and they are notorious for turning the Northern Triangle in Central America into the area with the highest homicide rate in 2011. Many Central Americans are living in fear because of this gang, and the people in the gang involve a lot of crimes like violence, rape, killing, homicide, organized killing. They cause so many fear for the people in Central America. And a Mexican refugee, her name is Peter de Jesus Mejia. This is her quote. I left my country because of the crimes and because we were witnesses when two of my husband's cousins were killed, and now they are looking for us too. So she had heard about the family separations, and she decided to leave her country without hearing it.
So now we're already talk about the problem back at home. We're going to talk about why is this problem become such a human violation. The problem is actually also from at the border. So you can understand that when people are suffering, they would try all their best to come to the border. But when they come to the border, they face another challenge and it's even more difficult. So the first one is rejected by the state. So thousands of immigrant families from all over the Central America come to the US-Mexico border in hope of pursuing a new and better start for their family and children. However, on January 2017, US President Donald Trump signed the executive order 13767, formally direct that the U.S. government begin attempting more construction along the Mexican border. And in December 2019, at least 93 miles of barriers has been built. This new restriction, of course, become an obstacle for families who try to cross the border for better futures. And with the crisis at the border, this is where the Article 14 was violated in this case. So we can understand that many families with children trying to cross the border were being captured by the Border Patrol police and got sent to the border asylum. And a lot of people who walk miles and miles with nothing to eat with them come to the border and suffer there. Some parents were beaten, many starved to death waiting at the asylum, and not only that, there's even an illegal drug cartels and illegal gun transported into the US. And according to one of the video of interviewing one of the Honduran refugee, Zuli Ramiro, she said that no, I don't want to because it's not safe. You hear about people getting lost, children getting kidnapped or killed, or mother getting raped. And this was when she was interviewed asking about if she want to attempt crossing the border illegally. And we can see that there's a lot of fear and these people are living in fears. And this one, family separation, this is also where Article 14 was being violated. According to the NBC News, the U.S. immigration authorities separate more than 1,500 children from their parents at the Mexico border early in the Trump administration. The American Civil Liberties Union said that bringing the total number of children separated since July 2017 to more than 5,400. And these children, including babies, toddlers, the children labeled as the uncompanioned minors and sent to the government custody or foster care, and their parents labeled as criminal for crossing the border illegally and sent it to jail.
Due to the recent worldwide pandemic, the COVID-19, the policy of immigrations and border migrations becomes a problem. The US President Donald Trump plans to return all the undocumented immigrants and the asylum seekers back to Mexico, and also the border patrol agents will return anyone who tries to cross the border illegally back to Mexico. Under this policy, the asylum seekers won't be allowed to stay in an American faculty and would be returning to their native country or Mexico. But, however, the President Donald Trump has suggested that he would close the border, hoping to crack down some illegal immigrations and pressure the Mexico government to restrain and keep back the illegal immigrations to the US border. So this is quote from Flores, a female Mexican refugee. So in her situation, she was deciding whether to try to seek into the US entry. Even she had heard about the family separation, about parents that were being separating from their children. So this is so cool. If my country would be okay, I would be there happily with my child. I would not try to cross. So this means that there was a problem with the Mexican government, and something makes this woman to leave her native country and being worried about the future of her daughter, her child.
So you might wondering, these problems are so severe, and what does the world leaders or organization have to say about this problem?
All right, so I'm gonna move on to the what's organization on this issue. So first of all, it's gonna be Mexico government. So what they did so far was trying to prevent illegal immigration through its southern border. They made some conferences in Miami to discuss about the systematic change in their government.
So in 2014, Obama is working with Cecilia Monarch, a director of the White House domestic policy, to try to fundraise to support the Central American families and children arriving at the border. He said that it took 18 months to convince the Congress to put 750 million bucks to fund this program. And in 2014, the total number was about 317 millions. The Obama administrations and Congress adopted a broad U.S. strategy to address not only what was happening at the border, but also the corruption and violence of the regions. So now that we have been introduced to all of these problem, we're going to talk about what has been done by the war to this problem. So the first thing what's being done. So the first thing about what has been done by the war leaders, it's a family separation. So in June 21st, 2018, the US President Donald Trump has signed to allow families to stay together in a detention camp to so what has been done by the war? So the first thing is family separations. In June 21st, 2018, US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to reverse his administration's policy of separating children from their parents at the border. He said that he will allow families to stay together in the detention camps. The second thing is a non-restrictive detention. So instead of locking people at the asylum near the border, the president allowed families to be released while ensuring that they can be located and notified about their court case. New guidelines to ensure the facility that handle families have humane conditions and the future age-appropriate protection and learning opportunity for all the families and children.
Another thing being done is the Donald Trump plan on border asylum. The US government is working on sending back the government the US uh, Another thing being done is the Donald Trump plan on border asylum. So the president of the United States are working on. Another thing is being done is Trump's plan on border asylum. The U.S. government is working on sending back families and individuals that are illegally crossing the border back to Mexico, even though Mexico hasn't fully agreed on letting the people in and trying to limit the numbers. Mexico announced that they will allow some asylum seekers to stay in the country. So at the border, all the immigrants are directed to line up and write their name to sign up for entering the country legally. So Mexico government also opens up shelter for the asylum seekers. So the last thing being done is imprison criminal individuals. So countries in Central America started to establish new prison system to control and lock harmful individuals. So according to President Juan Orlando of Honduras, the rate of errant homicide is unbelievably high. So he started to reform prison system. So this is like a message for the people who's doing bad crimes have consequences, but they manage to have a high percentage of criminal reductions. However, they still need support from America to build a better system, a better prison system.
So, what should being done in our point of view? I think that Central America leaders should come up with a better security system for the country and provide aid to support the struggling families. So the government of these Central American countries should come up with a solution right from the beginning, which is within their country, so that the people don't have to suffer and don't have to live in fear of the gangster activity and the violence that is happening right near their neighbors. And I think that the condition for the refugee should be better. So, according to Article 14, everyone has the right to seek asylum in persecutions. The people migrating to the US Mexico border don't have this right fully. Some families are being separated, some others are found sleeping with a thin plastic sheet or mat across the pavement, some were beaten, and many starved to death.
Another thing should be done is prevent support for Central American governments. Although some countries are known to have corrupted governments, it is helpful for the people to provide support and fund to them. World organizations like UN, NGO, or public officials or charity could provide protections for the struggling families and children who don't have educations. And since some countries in Central America has a high rate of kids drop out of school to find job for living to support the family, and also it's important to raise and fund the protection for the family from away from the violence of the youngsters activities.
So what's happening at the US that's a violation? We can all see that according to the article, there is just so much thing that's not really right with this problem. Everything that's happening at the border and how the new restrictions for the immigration acts from the US and also in the Mexicos are not fair for these people. These people has problem in their country and their country is very dangerous. It's not a safe place for them to be. It's not that they trying to just get into the country for bad, but they are doing it for their families and the future of their children. So this is our team, Jamie and Hiromi, and would like to say thank you for listening.